Before I get into the 5 W's and H, I want to explain a concept. Traditionally in journalism, there's a spectrum of types of news. It's based mostly on the urgency of the story. On one end of the spectrum, you have hard news, and the other end is soft news. Hard news stories are very urgent, things that just happened or continue to happen. This is sometimes called breaking news. On the other end is soft news. These are stories that are not at all urgent. It would make little or no difference when they're published. Those are the two extremes, and different stories fall many places on this spectrum. The consideration of the 5 W's and H is mostly relevant for harder news stories. And for each story, different W's will be more or less important. That's a key point. Beginning journalists sometimes think that all the W's are equally important. We'll come back to this at the end with examples. So what are these 5 W's and H? They're key questions to ask when starting a story. It's pretty simple. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who is the story about? Who are the people central to it? What is the story about? What happened? What's going on? What's new? When did this happen? This could be a moment or a span of time. Where did this happen? And this might involve more than one place. Why is this happening? What caused it to happen? What motivations were there? And how did it happen? This one's often complicated, not always relevant. Let's look at an example of how you can use them. Yesterday, your school announced a big policy about the use of AI for students and teachers. I'd call this fairly hard news. Let's start by asking what the most important W's are here. It can be debated, but I'd rank them sort of like this: who, what, when, why, and then how. The where element is really not very important here. Here's a sample lead for this. Principal Johnson has announced a new school policy around the use of artificial intelligence by students and teachers. He sent an email to the Central High community yesterday to explain the change. In light of the rapid developments going on with AI, I felt it was important for our policies to cover how AI should and shouldn't be used, he wrote. He went on to say that the policy was drafted with help from a group of teachers and administrators. Okay. You can see that the who and the what are in the first sentence. The second sentence hits the when and how, and the third sentence, the direct quote, shows the why. The fourth sentence gets into how the policy was created, but you could argue that the sent an email part is also sort of how coverage. When you're starting a news story, it's important to look at all 5 W's and the H. Then when you go to write the story, you should evaluate which are the most important. This leads to another topic, the inverted pyramid, so check out the video on that.